Ladies and gentlemen, New York Post. It's all over the place, other publications as well. Bill and Hillary Clinton delay deposition in the House. Clinton's subpoenaed to testify in congressional hearing pertaining to their former donor. Hit subscribe to this channel right now. To my super chat, thank you. This is ABC News, one of the biggest beneficiaries of the monster's contribution was then Senate hopeful Hillary Clinton, who received $20,000 from him in 1999 through her joint fundraiser committee with the Democratic Party. Bill Clinton's presidential campaign received $1,000, and you had John Kerry. John Kerry received money. In addition, you had Chuck Schumer. Where's Chuck Schumer? Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer got $22,000 from this Democratic donor. When they try to tie Trump to, the person who shall remain nameless at this moment, I mean, we'll hear about him in a second, but that man was a Democratic donor. And I'm just doing it for the algorithm because, anyway, he'll remain nameless for the next couple of seconds, but $22,000 to Chuck Schumer from EP. Then EP gave $20,000 to Hillary Clinton. Then EP gave to others as well. New York Senator, okay, so cut a plea deal. Democrats cut a plea deal with him. Stacey Plaskett, $8,100. Bill Richardson received $50,000 from EP, Clinton's former energy secretary. You're looking at well over $100,000 he gave to Democrats just in the late to the 90s to the early 2000s. So anyone who wants to tie EP to Trump, it could be an imbecile. What took place is that this was a liberal Democratic Party donor from New York. All they have is one picture of Trump. That's like showing a picture of Oprah with Harvey Weinstein and saying, oh, there, you see, it's incriminating. It's like, okay, they knew everybody. Anyway, the Clintons delayed / refusing to testify, which is a felony if they continue to refuse. So an indictment just for that alone, in addition to Russiagate, could take place. Hit subscribe to this channel. This is huge. Check this out, ladies and gentlemen. And go to H.A. Goodman's other channel right after this.
Welcome back. Vice President J.D. Vance moments ago applauding the House Oversight Committee subpoenas to former President Bill Clinton and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, along with 8 others. The Oversight Committee also continuing its investigation into Joe Biden's mental fitness and the use of the auto pen during Biden's presidency. Former Biden senior advisor Anita Dunn testified last Thursday, telling the committee that Biden's inner circle came to the conclusion that he should not take a cognitive test, even though she said they all felt that, he would pass one easily. Earlier in the week, former Biden Deputy Chief of Staff Bruce Reed told the committee ex-White House doctor Kevin O'Connor dismissed cognitive tests as, quote, meaningless. Joining me now in this Sunday Morning Futures exclusive is the chairman of the House Oversight Committee, Kentucky Congressman James Comer. Mr. Chairman, good to see you. Thank you so much for being here.
Good morning, Maria.
I want to first talk about these subpoenas to Hillary and Bill Clinton. When are you expecting them to come in to testify under oath?
One spoonful of
We've asked them to come in October. We've given them specific dates. What makes these subpoenas special and historical is that they came as a result of a bipartisan vote.
So the date, the October date has come and gone. Bill and Hillary Clinton delay deposition. New York Post. And so they're not testifying. They're not testifying about the $20,000. Okay, if EP gave Trump $20,000, it would be like they would win Pulitzer Prize They would have been Pulitzer Prizes for investigative journalism. But EP gives 20,000 to Hillary Clinton, 20,000 to Chuck Schumer, 50,000 to Bill Richardson, all these Democrats, and of course, the Washington Post, New York Times, and everybody else. Suddenly the journalists, radio silence, no investigative journalism. Anyway, let's continue.
The Democrats made a motion, like we knew they would, to subpoena the Epstein documents, which Republicans support. Scott Perry from Pennsylvania amended that motion to include subpoenas for both Bill and Hillary Clinton, as well as 6 former attorneys generals. And the Democrats voted for it. Now they're scared and trying to say they didn't vote for it, but they did. It's on record. And that helps us in court. If the Clintons try to fight this subpoena, which we presume they will, this subpoena came as a result of a bipartisan vote, which has never happened before in the House Oversight Committee. So we're looking forward to hearing from the Clintons. The American people want to know what went on Epstein Island. We know Clinton went there many times. We just want to ask Bill Clinton what he saw when he was there and who all was involved.
Well, I mean, look, there's a lot of information to be gained from.
Almost certainly they're not going to testify. Almost certainly. I mean, there's like a 2% chance that Bill and Hillary might testify. There's like a 98% chance they ain't testifying. They'll risk an indictment or prison time. So that's that. They ain't going to testify almost certainly. And it's going to come down to delay, and then finally there'll be a protocol within there'll be a criminal referral sent because of the delay of the testimony, if they don't testify, which I think 98% they're not going to testify, which will be an indictment. They might roll the dice with that. I mean, she could be indicted for not testifying and still become the Democratic nominee. She could be charged and convicted, still become the Democratic nominee, because that's the way the Democratic Party works. She will run for president again. She will be indicted and then run for president again. People think I'm nuts, but that's going to happen.
From an interview under oath with Hillary and Bill Clinton, that's for sure. Would you also get into Russia collusion?
Well, we would like to ask about that. I'm sure their lawyers are going to be negotiating the terms. The subpoena was issued a few days before the Russia collusion story really broke. But certainly we're going to ask as many questions as we can ask. This is an opportunity to get the Clintons under oath, which people have been trying to do for a long time. So hopefully we'll be able to do that, and we'll get answers to a lot of questions that the American people have.
So you say that they're going to be fighting this. You think this is going to go through the courts?
I would be shocked if it did not go to the courts. But again, one thing that stands out is this bipartisan vote. We've never had that. I've been chairman of the House Oversight Committee for a year and a half, Maria, and I've never lost a subpoena battle. This is the toughest battle that we're going to face is getting the Clintons in here. But again, that bipartisan vote, and I want to thank the Democrats on the House Oversight Committee for voting for that subpoena.
Well, I mean, look, another tough battle that you've got in front of you.
So the Democrats, they're not very good at politics. And so what they did is like, oh, EP, you promised to release all the files. And then Trump's administration was wrong in not releasing either all the files or explaining, hey, the files were corrupted. And Trump's name was added into it in a manner that is the Steele dossier. Because if indeed Trump's name was in the EP files, it would have been released. 100% would have been released. The fact that they had nothing, there was zero between Trump and EP. He didn't have $20,000 given to him like Hillary was, like Chuck Schumer was. Okay, this is an ABC News article. And of course, the ABC News, he donated to several Democrats. He was a Democratic donor. He hardly gave to Republicans, and if he did, it was a never Trump type of Republican. But here, I mean, it's all there. Democrats went to bat for EP in New York. Even Vox wrote about that. $22,000 to Chuck Schumer, $50,000 to Bill Richardson. Okay, but mainly $20,000 to Hillary Clinton and Chuck Schumer each, apiece. And there's more money, too. It's not just that. He didn't just give that money. But you have a situation where, yeah, President Trump's administration could have handled it better. Well, Democrats, they don't care about this issue. It's not they don't care about these types of things because their politicians are implicated directly. So they don't want anything to do with it. They thought they could gain some political traction. Now they got the Clintons. They forced the Democrats inadvertently forced the Clintons to testify, which is absolutely hilarious. And 98% chance they ain't going to testify. They'll risk an indictment. They'll risk the same thing Peter Navarro and I think Bannon got. So they'll risk an indictment and conviction, or they testify, and then it opens up a whole other can of worms, more indictments for other things. But let's continue.
Is getting to the bottom of President Biden's 4 years in office, and what was going on there. I mean, it was all very simple and clear for everyone to see that he was, struggling in terms of his mental capacity and this use of the auto pen. Who was running the country for the last 4 years before President Trump?
He was only 47. Aneurysm.
Well, it looks like a very small inner circle of no-name unelected bureaucrats. They had a tight reign over Joe Biden. They didn't allow a lot of cabinet secretaries like Pete Buttigieg to have access to Joe Biden. They certainly didn't allow the White House press corps to have access to Joe Biden. When he did come out, he was very scripted. And what we've learned is even when the American people realized after the Hur report and after the disastrous debate performance against Donald Trump that Joe Biden was in mental decline, his staff, we learned from Anita Dunn this week, made the decision not to give Joe Biden a cognitive test. Even when the American people were demanding a cognitive test, they made the decision, the ones who were running the country, that they were not going to give Joe Biden a cognitive test. And I think that is pretty overwhelming evidence that they feared what the results of that test would be.
So what do you think you will find out about who was running the country? I mean, after the Robert Hur interview was released, just a day or so later, we learned that Joe Biden had prostate cancer. But, I've got the Kevin O'Connor medical report in front of me right now. There's no mention of any mental decline. There's no mention of any prostate cancer. Why suddenly do we learn this after the Robert Hur tapes were released?
Well, we've watched the Hur tapes, and they're a disaster. You understand watching the tapes why Robert Hur wrote that. I mean, that was scary. If Americans could watch that tape, and hopefully we can make that public, they would be concerned that this guy was president of the United States.
By the way, he won the most votes of any candidate ever. Okay. And he was then forced out by George Clooney in Hollywood less than 4 years. That makes no sense at all, but to the morally superior among us, it's perfectly normal. Just like cheating Bernie Sanders, they cheated Biden worse. I mean, Biden actually won his primary, and they still kicked him to the curb politically.
Control of the nuclear football. But at the end of the day, with Dr. O'Connor, we deposed him. We brought him in for a deposition. He pled the fifth. We asked Dr. O'Connor, were you ever told to lie about Joe Biden's health? He couldn't answer that question. He pled the fifth to avoid self-incrimination. What we found about Dr. O'Connor is he declined doing a cognitive test. He supposedly said a cognitive test was not important, even though every president in my lifetime has taken cognitive tests. And we also believe that he supposedly did not check the president for prostate cancer. Every man over 50, including myself, I'm 52, takes a PSA test every time they get blood work done. So the story doesn't add up with respect to Dr. Connor. It reeks of a political cover-up, a cover-up of a president in declining health.
So do you think that this was an all-out effort by the Democrats to keep their grip on power, even though they knew that the leader in charge, Joe Biden, really did not have the capacity to keep going, and then they actually encouraged him to run for another term?
It looks like it, and that's what's the most shocking about this whole thing. This didn't just happen around the time of the debate between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. This happened, a year prior to that, and yet this small inner circle wanted to keep this man in the Oval Office, even though they knew he couldn't perform the duties of President of the United States for another 4 years. That's what's so disappointing about all of this, and what you see with the last 90 days. That's when I think the auto pen was abused the most, Maria. The last 90 days after Donald Trump wins the election and you're in that lame duck period, they start cranking stuff through that auto pen like crazy. Pardons, thousands of pardons, and executive orders whose sole purpose of these executive orders was to Trump-proof the Trump administration, to make it harder to get federal employees to come back to work, to make it harder to eliminate agencies like the Department of Education. So that's why this investigation is important. We believe that there's a possibility that a lot of these executive orders and pardons can be declared null and void in a court of law.
So
the auto pen pardon, even though the rebuttal is, well, other presidents used the auto pen. Yeah, they didn't have cognitive disabilities the way potentially Biden did. Other presidents were aware of who they were pardoning. The question is, was Biden aware of who he pardoned? Let's continue.
Concern that the White script of its interview with Epstein associate Ghislaine Maxwell. Well, that would be wise, but probably wouldn't satisfy the critics. In the meantime, speculation continues to swirl about what Maxwell actually told the DOJ during her 9 hours over 2 days when she spoke with Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche last month. Well, Ghislaine Maxwell, according to reports, said nothing during the interview that would be harmful to President Donald Trump, telling Blanche that Trump had never done anything in her presence that would have caused concern, according to sources familiar with what Maxwell said. That's from ABC. It's interesting. But that wasn't all the Epstein news out there today. The House Oversight Committee issued a flurry of subpoenas in the matter, and the recipients are familiar figures. Here to discuss is House Oversight Chair.
So these are all individuals in one way or another that either covered up for EP because he was a Democratic donor, either received money from EP or worked with people who covered up. So like Vox and other publications had published articles saying, New York, CNN also, New York, there were New York prosecutors who lowered his offender status. New York shielded him. They couldn't find a grand jury for EP, but they found like 20,000 grand juries for Trump. So they were shielding. It was Democrats that were shielding EP because he was a donor. He gave $20,000 to Hillary Clinton and $20,000 to $22,000. Let's see. Senate Minority Leader, even the Senate Minority Leader, okay, Chuck Schumer received $22,000. Okay? And so what they do is they take the money and then they say, we're going to give it to a charity. Yeah. It's like you took the money, he's a Democratic donor. And anyway, these are the people subpoenaed. That's interesting. Comey's subpoenaed as well. Interesting.
Figures. Here to discuss is House Oversight Chair James Comer. Congressman, is the Oversight Committee prepared to enter into a legal battle with the DOJ over the Epstein files? You guys want the Clintons to tell us what they know about this, and many others. We'll put up the...
There's a 98% chance the Clintons would rather risk indictment and conviction for not testifying. So they almost certainly they ain't going to testify. If they do testify, that would be very interesting because then they would open themselves up almost certainly to indictments in other areas, much more serious areas. But it'll be back and forth. We're not talking about Russiagate because Clinton will almost certainly be indicted. She'll be indicted eventually for the Steele dossier, along with everyone involved with the dossier. Okay, so that was 18 U.S. Code 371. That's the statute that President Trump, that Pam Bondi is almost certainly going to use against Clinton and Brennan, all these people, because of the dossier. And she'll still run for president, so don't think that she won't run again in 28.
List again so everyone can see.
Yeah, we're going to do what we said we would do, and what I think the American people want. We're going to get the truth to the American people. I don't think we'll have to put up a fight with the Department of Justice because President Trump has said he's going to release the Epstein files. I take him at his word. Our House Oversight Committee had a subcommittee meeting the last week in August when we were in Washington, and they voted in a bipartisan manner, not only to subpoena the Epstein files, but also to subpoena a whole list of people that were supposedly involved in some form or fashion with the Epstein investigation, including 6 former attorneys general, as well as, of course, Bill and Hillary Clinton. So we're serious about this. The media has tried to make it out that Republicans didn't want to get to the bottom of this. The Republicans didn't want to be transparent. I can assure you Republicans want transparency more than Democrats, and we're going to do our job. We're going to provide oversight, and I think that we've got an administration that wants to be transparent. So I'm anxious to get started with this, and hopefully we'll be bringing people in very soon to depose them and interview them.
Well, the Clintons aren't going to be deposed. I mean, they're going to fight this till the last man standing here. I mean, if you don't think federal subpoena of Hillary Clinton's going to matter, I mean, she bleached her blackberries or had her staff do it.
Well, it's going to be difficult. There have been 2 presidents in the last century that have been subpoenaed by Congress. I believe that was Harry Truman and Donald Trump, and neither ended up testifying in front of Congress. But we're going to do everything we can. This is different because this subpoena was the direct result of a committee vote, and it was a bipartisan committee vote. The Democrats made a motion in the Oversight Subcommittee to subpoena the Epstein documents, and then Scott Perry from Pennsylvania, a good Republican member, he amended their motion to include subpoenaing the Clintons as well as all the attorneys general who were involved in the Epstein investigation, and the Democrats voted for it. I don't know that they realized what they voted for, but they voted for a subpoena for the Clintons, and because it was voted on by Congress in a
So in January of 2025, 6th, in January, PBS January 6th committee drops Donald Trump's subpoena as it wraps up work. So, yeah, okay, he won the presidency. So again, Hillary Clinton might she'll probably run for president again after the indictment for either the Russiagate or ignoring the congressional subpoena. So we also know that hundreds and hundreds of federal agents were there. Interesting. I wonder why Kinzinger and Cheney never told us that.
bipartisan manner. I think that'll have good standing in court.
All right. Well, Congressman, other huge news. President Trump is threatening a federal takeover of Washington, D.C. Obviously, crime is a huge problem in D.C.
House committee investigating documents surrounding the Jeffrey Epstein case is now going after some big names. The committee has issued subpoenas to former President Bill Clinton, former presidential nominee Hillary Clinton, and several top law enforcement officials. Also tonight, former Deputy Chief of Staff to then President Biden appeared voluntarily before the same House panel probing an alleged cover-up of President Biden's mental health. Senior national correspondent Aisha Hasni reports from Capitol Hill tonight on these 2 investigations. Good evening, Aisha.
Brett, good evening to you. You know, the Biden investigation really divided Democrats and Republicans. But Republicans now say this fresh Epstein probe is such a bipartisan effort that even the Clintons may not be able to escape it. Tonight, former President Bill Clinton and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton are facing congressional subpoenas to testify in person about Jeffrey Epstein. The House Oversight Committee summoning the Clintons and 8 former FBI directors and attorneys general spanning from the Bush era to the Biden White House.
So these are all the people that presided over the time period where Chuck Schumer received $22,000. See, I just don't get it. When you have like pundits liberal or progressive or leftist or, whatever, Democratic Party, like, echo chamber pundits. What is the rebuttal or what's the defense of Chuck Schumer getting $22,000? Did Trump get any money from EP? No. So what is the defense? How could they possibly defend that? Okay. And where's okay, so let's see. Hillary Clinton got $20,000. John Kerry got money. John Kerry got money also. John Kerry, Hillary Clinton's successor, also was a recipient during his time as senator. I mean, he's giving every Democratic nominee money. Literally you have Hillary Clinton, John Kerry, you have Chuck Schumer. Every powerful person is getting 20 grand or more from EP. How do you make it a Trump scandal if you are like have Trump derangement? He was a Democratic Party donor. End of story. There's no rebuttal to that. He gave maybe a tiny amount to Republicans. Like, he gave to them also. It's like, no, okay, like 80-20 or 90-10. And yeah, there are Republicans that exist in New York, but the Republicans, they're not Trump, it's not MAGA or Trump Republicans. So there's no rebuttal. It's a Democratic Party scandal that they try to latch onto because President Trump's administration should have done a better job releasing the files. But it's Democrats that receive the money.
The historic move comes as pressure grows on Republicans and the Trump administration to release the Epstein files, and as President Trump points his finger away from himself.
By the way, I never went to the island, and Bill Clinton went there supposedly 28 times.
Clinton has denied that, but Oversight Chairman James Comer tells Fox he's got questions.
Well, were you ever at Epstein Island? How many times did you go to Epstein Island? What was your relationship with Jeffrey Epstein?
No former president has ever come to the Hill for a deposition, but Comer says the Clintons will have a hard time dodging this one since the left wants answers too. Last week, 4 Democrats on an oversight panel voted with 3 Republicans to subpoena the Justice Department for the Epstein files. Democrats are looking for one name.
Donald Trump is clearly going to do everything that he can to minimize the impact to him, but yet he's involved in the cover-up, and we believe Republicans are helping in that right now.
And wondering what Democrats think of the $20,000 EP gave to Hillary Clinton, or the money he gave to Kerry, or the $22,000 that Chuck Schumer got, or the money that down here what Stacey Plaskett got. Okay, $8,100. John Kerry. They all should get, if Hillary Clinton's getting a congressional subpoena, why not John Kerry? He received money also. Where's John Kerry here? John Kerry, Hillary Clinton's successor. So they tried to make it about, it's so hilarious because the Democrats stand, like, the current Democratic Party stands for nothing, like literally nothing, except a maniacal quest for political power, okay? Not Medicare for all, not Green New Deal, nothing they claim to care about. And they're like, oh, we're gonna take it to Trump. It's like, no, but it points back to Democrats.
Yeah.
That investigation gets underway as another pushes ahead. History, did you think that the president was competent to serve? Former Biden Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy Bruce Reed sitting in for his closed-door interview today over the alleged cover-up of President Biden's decline. Reed was part of a small group of decision-makers who hid Biden, according to the book Original Sin, advisors who have all, so far, defended Biden's competency to be the commander-in-chief. And Brett, tonight, a source familiar with Reed's deposition tells us that he basically defended the former president, blamed his poor debate performance on his stutter, and said the White House physician, Dr. Kevin O'Connor, who pled the fifth during...
That's another thing Democrats do. They they lie about, and Republicans also, but Democrats like the past 10 years. You've never seen a political party. There's never been a political party the past 10 years that has lied more than the Democratic Party. President Trump is a saint. They're like, oh, he lies, he lies. No. Democrats have lied infinitely more, from Russiagate to everything else. The stutter issue had nothing to do with Biden's mental, issues or problems. And they're like, oh, he has a stutter. They even had the audacity. They were so shameful in they found a young person, I think, in 2020, and they said, oh, you have a stutter also, and so does the president. The president has a stutter also. It has nothing to do with stuttering. Even the mental decline from 2020 to 2024, it's like they lied about that, and they began the lie by saying it was about stuttering. I mean, it's just unbelievable how, and then people will just latch on to it. You could say anything to the wonderful, morally superior liberal Democrats. As long as it means attaining power and hurting President Trump, they'll do it. They'll believe it. It's not a problem. And these are oftentimes really wonderful, beautiful, amazing human beings. That's the tragedy in all of this. There are wonderful, beautiful people who believe fake news all the time. And when they're given real news, like a money trail, they still won't believe their political side is far worse than what they think President Trump is.
During his deposition, basically dismissed any cognitive tests as merely meaningless. The next person that is set to appear before the committee is Senior Communications Advisor Anita Dunn this Thursday. Brett.
Aisha, back on the Epstein case, Jeffrey Epstein's longtime associate Ghislaine Maxwell trying to stop the DOJ from releasing the grand jury transcripts in her case.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So the Trump administration is trying to make this public to show the base and to show people out there that they are taking this case very seriously. But Maxwell's lawyer essentially filed a motion today opposing those files from being released because she is appealing her case all the way to the Supreme Court. Her team writes this: Jeffrey Epstein is dead.
So the Supreme Court denied that. Now we get to the Russiagate issue, which is another numerous indictments, conspiracy statutes, including upcoming indictments for Clinton and others almost certainly.
It's coming over the next 3.5 years of the Trump administration. There's certainly going to be more indictments coming over the next 3.5 years of the Trump administration. If you look at the Comey indictment, Martha, this was a grand jury indictment delivered in Alexandria, Virginia, not exactly a hotbed of Donald Trump's political support. There were 3 requested indictments. The grand jury returned 2 of those 3 indictments. So I think they showed they were judicious. I think that it showed clearly that there were a couple of things that James Comey did wrong.
The deep state reckoning is just beginning, with the grand jury indicting former FBI Director James Comey for lying to and obstructing Congress. The charges center around Comey's congressional testimony regarding the origins of the Russia hoax. And some believe he could face even more charges for his role in it.
We'll be lucky if there is not a grand conspiracy charge brought. Comey and company and all of them got involved in the so-called Clinton plan, which, if you remember, the Clinton plan was to do what? To say that the Trump campaign was colluding with the Russians. That's like the quintessential definition of conspiracy.
This is the tip of the iceberg. He leaked classified information to create a narrative politically. I think that's a strong case. But there's so much else. Comey knew then what we all know now and ignored it. I believe he withheld exculpatory information from the court because he wanted Trump to be found guilty.
But some are defending Comey, including his former right-hand man, Andrew McCabe.
I'm not aware of Jim Comey ever authorizing some other person to leak information.
Some other person? Why didn't he say, I'm not aware of Comey authorizing anyone to leak information? I speak protocol and bureaucracy and doublespeak. I can translate it for you. You can hear it again. He's very clear in stating that Comey gave him authority but not other people. That's why he didn't say, I've never known Comey to authorize anyone. Some other person who speaks like this. Who speaks like this?
I'm not aware of Jim Comey ever authorizing some other person to leak information. That's not something I experienced personally. It's not something I saw in all the time I spent working around Jim Comey. I didn't ever see Jim Comey authorizing other people to leak information.
All right.
I didn't see Jim Comey authorize other people. You can use the word anyone. Why doesn't he use the word anyone? Wouldn't that be more accurate? Oh, but it's not. But he's still on record, even when it's so hilarious too. It's so easy to this. This is not like you don't have to be a genius. That's why he didn't say I've never witnessed Comey authorize anyone. Other people, meaning that he was authorized, meaning that it goes to trial. And McCabe could be a reluctant witness for the prosecution.
Joey, answering a reporter's questions a lot different than what you say to Congress when you're under oath.
Yeah, the indictment was short and sweet. So there's a lot of information that we don't have, such as what exactly they indicted him on. But you got McCabe there saying, I don't think I ever remember that, but it's also his testimony juxtaposed to Comey's that Ted Cruz was getting at. So I don't know much about this, and I'm not a lawyer, but I do know a big part of the government's plan, usually in things like this, is to start to get someone to tell on the other to keep themselves out of trouble. And when Vance and Trump are signaling things, and I don't think they're a part of the Justice Department's investigation here, but when many people are saying things like, I think there are more to come, I wonder if that's part of it. If the idea is to put pressure in so many places, somebody says, hey, I'll talk to get me out of this.
Yeah, the paperwork, the notes, and the personal notes, that's what I think a lot of what the FBI is in the Department of Justice is looking at, which begs the question, could Hillary Clinton be the next person indicted? During a 2016 congressional hearing, I pressed Comey on Hillary, and he denied that she ever lied to him.
Did Hillary Clinton lie under oath? Not to the FBI, not in a case we're working.
You have to appreciate the Laurence Olivier. Oh my God. The earnest. Oh, it's such fantastic acting. I mean, he could have won an Academy Award. Always parsing words, always in deposition mode, not to the FBI. Hillary didn't lie to the FBI. Oh, of course not. Her first 3 months of emails are missing. They still have not divulged, whether it's Comey or anyone else, how Clinton was able to transfer. How was Clinton's email servers, how were Clinton's email servers able to obtain classified or top secret intelligence within emails? You can't just email classified data from the US government onto somebody's cell phone. It's not possible. It's not possible from a cybersecurity perspective. But nobody has ever answered that, and nobody cares, which is it says something about our country. I think the best country in the world, but it says something.
Did you review the documents where Congressman Jim Jordan asked her specifically, and she said, quote, "There was nothing marked classified on my emails, either sent or received," end quote.
I don't remember reviewing that particular testimony. I'm aware of that being said, though.
Did the FBI investigate her statements under oath on this topic?
Not to my knowledge. I don't think there's been a referral from Congress.
Do you need?
I don't think there's been a referral from Congress. What? What does that even mean? And can I tell you, the morally superior Trump, as long as it's a reasonable acting display, the morally superior, highly educated Democrats will accept anything. But if Trump had a private server, they would say that he was writing love letters to Putin, and we have to find those emails, and oh my God. But they can get away with pretty much anything up until now, because Trump ain't playing. He's not playing. He ain't playing. What happened to Charlie Kirk, what almost happened to Trump, what happened to the firefighter in Butler, Pennsylvania. Trump, the entire administration knows, as passionate as I've been the past 8-9 years plus on this, multiply that times 20 million. That's how Trump feels about it, almost certainly.
Need a referral from Congress to investigate her statements under oath?
Sure do.
You'll have one.
Yeah, that came.
I sure do need a referral. I mean, it's a cover-up. What are we supposed to do? Actually indict somebody with private servers? With top secret intel? And Democrats still voted. Oh, they thought that she was going to win in a landslide. And then Russia! They went from laughing at the notion that she could lose to Russia! It's like, it takes 3 weeks for the wonderful morally superior to key Teslas. Or despise ICE. It's 3 weeks to kick out Biden. It's 3 weeks of media coverage. And they'll believe anything. It's unbelievable.
A few hours later. Anita, where do you see this going?
Well, I think we all heard Devin Nunes talk about how Hillary was involved in pushing this plan that Trump was colluding with Russia, right? I happened to pull an article. This is a CNN article from 2022, okay? It says Hillary Clinton personally approved plan to share Trump-Russia allegation with the press in 2016, campaign manager says. So this is not some right-wing conspiracy. This is not some Republican talking points. This is a CNN article from 3 years ago. So I think I wouldn't be surprised if she could be indicted and finally have to answer some of these questions about this Russia collusion narrative and this dossier.
Well, remember, the pressure on her regarding the email was pretty intense because it kept going because they never would cough up those documents. And even though the FBI director said he needed a referral, to best of my knowledge, they did nothing. Absolutely nothing to actually go back and investigate that. Nobody was contacted. No documents were reviewed that we're aware of. And so this idea that the Hillary Clinton campaign spent some $10 million to generate this fictitious documentation that they could then use to change an election. Thank goodness it didn't work, though.
Right, it didn't work. Well, I would also say this. I don't think that Hillary Clinton and Comey are necessarily buddies. I think that even though Comey didn't go the distance on the butter emails, the email server in the bathroom and all this stuff, I think that was a contributing factor to her loss in 2016, among many, many other things, the basket of deplorables. But I'd also say that just this week, I believe it was, on The View, Joy Behar said, I don't like Comey. I don't want him to get indicted, but I don't like him because I think he ruined things for Hillary. So I think, maybe to your earlier point, I think there's some behind-the-scenes bad blood, and all of this just might resurface a whole lot of drama.
Yeah,
and that's why I think President Obama is secretly helping President Trump. He gets to control the Democratic Party completely once Clinton is indicted. Although you never know, she could be indicted, and she will be almost certainly she'll be indicted. She will be indicted. Okay, it's 10 years too late, but she'll be indicted. She'll run for president after an indictment. She will run for president. And now, depending on how influential the Clintons still are, she'll become the nominee. And every far-left communist socialist will vote, like AI, wonderful, morally superior AI robots for Democrats, and Hillary, after being indicted, for creating a McCarthy-era Red Scare hoax that did not exist. So the people who are so apoplectic about misinformation spread information that misinformed for 10 years straight. And now it's the big paybacks. James Brown, big payback.
I thought the FBI director was fundamentally wrong and screwed over Hillary Clinton. You don't go make a 12-minute statement telling everything that this person did wrong, but we're not going to charge them.
Yeah.
That's why the Democrats are mad and upset. And so if Comey thinks he's got this wave of Democrats behind him, I don't think so. To your point, Tommy, exactly right.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe.
So this is some more on really the upcoming indictment of Clinton and others pertaining to the Russia myth, the hoax.
Reaction on Wednesday, former FBI Director Jim Comey pleaded not guilty to federal charges of making false statements to Congress and obstruction. Meanwhile, New York Attorney General Letitia James was indicted by a federal grand jury in Virginia on bank fraud charges for allegedly making false statements on a mortgage application that netted her about $19,000. Joining me now with more on all of this is Matt Taibbi. He is editor-in-chief of Racket News, and Mike Davis. He is president of the Article 3 Project. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. Let me first get your reaction to all of this. Matt Taibbi.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Comey case, especially with the Crossfire Hurricane investigation, all the Crossfire investigations, I thought at the time those should have been enormous Watergate level stories because it was about surveillance of a major party presidential candidate. Now I think in conjunction with Arctic frost, you have all these senators who are finally seeing that domestic political surveillance has been a major unreported problem in this country for a long time.
Wow. Well, yeah, we just spoke with a senator who was really affected. Bill Hagerty was tracked, and he said it happened to him 3 times. Mike, is all of this connected? We've been covering, obviously, the Russia collusion lie for a decade, and my viewers are well aware that it was fake from day one. But do you think this is all connected, and is this enough to create a conspiracy charge against Jim Comey and his friends who were part of that cabal?
Yeah, those indictments we just saw for Comey and Tish James are the appetizer indictments. And the big one, the main course, is going to be the conspiracy against rights under 18 USC Section 241. I've publicly called for this for the last 3+ years since the Mar-a-Lago raid. Remember this with the Russian collusion hoax. The Democrats made this up to help Hillary Clinton's campaign, to cover up her corruption, and to take out presidential candidate Donald Trump. They failed. President Trump went into office, and so they tried to destroy him while he was in office, and they tried to destroy him with the lawfare because he...
So Mike Davis is 100% right. I wrote about that in 2019 in the Federalist. Okay, I've been published in the Huffington Post, Salon, The Hill. I was a contributor at The Hill, and I wrote about this in the Federalist in 2019. We knew about this in 2017. They broke the law utilizing not the Steele dossier. That was against the law. You can't funnel the dossier into the government. Now, the Durham probe never really addressed that. No, the Durham probe trials never addressed that at all because you had FBI agents loyal to that system going to bat for, oh, well, you know what, and going to bat for the defendants. But see, John Durham deserves the Presidential Medal of Freedom. He compiled all the evidence that when combined with the declassified Durham probe annex and the declassified ODNI intelligence from Tulsi Gabbard, and all the other future declassified and everything else that the President Trump's administration has, all the emails, all the text messages, all the classified data, all John Radcliffe was smiling with Maria Bartiromo stating there's going to be more indictments. So, I mean, hit subscribe to this channel, hit subscribe to H.A. Goodman's other channel, go there right after this. But ladies and gentlemen, what can I tell you? I mean, the next 5, 6, 7 months, because they're going to do all of this before potentially losing the House, the Democrats. The next 5, 6, 7 months, endless indictments. So hit subscribe. I've been telling you this for years.
Declassified Crossfire Hurricane before he left office the first time.
And you believe that the Mar-a-Lago raid was also part of it. They were actually looking for the assessment of Russia's influence campaign targeting the 2016 presidential election. It was declassified. I have it right here. Do you believe that's what they were looking for?
1,000%. And those people who did this raid, like Jay Bratz and others, they did this to cover up their own corruption. This is the biggest scandal in American history. They politicized and weaponized intel agencies and law enforcement to take out their political enemy. This is third world stuff. And I would say to these lawfare Democrats, justice is definitely coming.
Matt, this is all pretty extraordinary.
It is, but
So, ladies and gentlemen, Bill and Hillary delayed deposition. They're not going to testify, and they're going to risk indictment and conviction. So they don't care. They just don't care. Hillary's going to run again for president. So convicted or indicted and convicted, she'll run again. It really doesn't matter. That's just with the deposition. That's just with the subpoena in the House of Representatives. The Russiagate indictments will happen also. So that's those are the big main course indictments that Mike Davis was talking about. Hit subscribe to this channel. I'll be back this evening, probably around 9 p.m. Eastern or so.